Right. First of all, I would like to thank you, Masood Sahab and the PMI board in Lahore for giving me the opportunity to come here and speak in front of this wonderful crowd in the city of Lahore. So the topic of my presentation is how project manager roles will transform using artificial intelligence. This question has three components. The first one is, what is a project manager or who is a project manager? And I'm assuming everybody in this room understand who is a project manager and what does he do. Is there anybody who does not understand a project management function? No? Okay, you guys are in the right room. The second is transformation. What I will do is I will go over the next 2 or 3 slides to just talk about transformation. And the last is artificial intelligence. So we will see how the role of the project manager will transform by using artificial intelligence and what are the key things that will happen in the near future. So transformation. There are a number of definitions available online. One of my favorite is, it's a mathematical definition. It's a process by which one figure, expression, or function is converted into another one with a similar value. I have highlighted the 4 points here. The first one is a process. Like PMI PMBOK, we have a number of processes. That means input and output. So that means transformation is a process. So you start with something, you do something, and then you get something, right? So input, process, output. The second one is which is operated on an object or a figure, expression, or a function, right? In our case, we are talking about the business function of project management, which is converted, meaning which is morphed or transformed into something which is of the similar value. It does not mean it is the same as it was before. So that means by using artificial intelligence, the project management practice will change, and it may or may not be similar to what we are practicing today. All right? So further, I found this interesting quote. It's been quoted by Charles Darwin, which says, "It is not the strongest species that survive, not the most intelligent, but the one that is more responsive to the change." Over the internet, you'll find different versions of this quote. Another one would say that the one which is more adaptable to the change. One of the interesting things about internet is full of lies. This was never quoted by Charles Darwin. It's been referred to him by so many authors that everybody thinks it was quoted to him, but that's not the reality. So for matter of our presentation or for this talk, what I'm trying to highlight here is that transformation is a change, right? And during the change, who will survive is the one who is adaptable to the change. That means if you're flexible, if you're working towards a change, you will be successful, right? If you are the intelligent person in the room, right? Or if you're the strongest person in the room, but if you're not adaptable to the change, you will not survive, your business will not survive, right? Anybody can guess what would be the Urdu or Punjabi translation of transformation? तब्दीली तब्दीली आ गई है तगय्युर भी हो सकता है मुझे इसको देखना पड़ेगा Okay, so what is artificial intelligence? Before I start about artificial intelligence, I would like to play a 2-minute video. Basically, this is the video. After seeing this video, I was like, my light bulb turns on how important is artificial intelligence for the project managers and how it will transform your business. So let me play this video quickly.
I'm looking for something on May 3rd. Sure, give me 1 second. Sure, what time are you looking for around? At 12 p.m. We do not have a 12 p.m. available. The closest we have to that is a 1:15.
Do you have anything between 10 a.m. and 12 p.m.?
Depending on what service she would like. What service is she looking for?
Just a woman's haircut for now.
Okay, we have a 10 o'clock.
10 a.m. is fine.
Okay, what's her first name?
The first name is Lisa.
Okay, perfect. So I will see Lisa at 10 o'clock on May 3rd.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Great. Have a great day. Bye.
Okay, so what happened here, on this side, it was a bot, right? The call was originated by a bot, by a robot, or by a computer, right? It was not a real person. And what you have seen, that in the real time, bot was able to negotiate the time that works with the client, right? So it's very important that, okay. So it is very important for us to see here that how this is changing, right? A computer can talk to a real person, right? And also it imitates the human behavior. If you have noticed in the beginning of the call, she said, while waiting on the phone, right? Most of us do the same. When we are talking on the phone, kya hal hai, how are you? And we learn those things, right? So that is capability of the computers that is happening now, right? Let's see the second part.
Can I hear you?
Hi, I'd like to reserve a table for Wednesday the 7th.
For 7 people?
It's for 4 people.
4 people when? Today,
Next
right?
Wednesday at 6 p.m.
Oh, actually we reserve for like after like 5 people. For people you can come.
How long is the wait usually to be seated?
For when tomorrow or weekday or?
For next Wednesday, the 7th.
Oh no, it's not too busy. You can come for all people, okay?
Oh, I gotcha. Thanks.
Okay. So again, some of you have noticed. That how it was negotiating, right? It was different voice. It was a male voice this time, right? And he was saying, "I would like to book an appointment for Wednesday, the 7th," right? And the person on the other end was not getting that question properly, so he was repeating the same question in a different way, right? So he was answering the question, but in a different way, so the person on the other end understand, right? This is what we do as a human, right? When somebody asks us a question, and if somebody do not understand or we try to explain, we try to use a different words, right? So this is how some of the technology changes that are happening right now.
These, one of them was a robot and the other was a human.
Other was the human, yes. So how many of you are using Google or Android or phones, right? How many of you are using Siri or Google Assistant? Okay. One thing I would suggest, when you go back, you must try Google Assistant or Apple Siri, Windows Cortana. There's another one from Amazon as well, right? Alexa, thank you. Why? Because this is what is happening right now, and this is how it will change our future. The more adaptable we are to these new technologies, the more we will be comfortable with these technologies. Right? So let's talk about what is artificial intelligence. It is the ability for the computers to perform a normal task that requires a human intelligence or to imitate intelligent human behavior. So in the previous example, we have seen how the bot was imitating the human behavior when the bot said or when the bot was trying to negotiate the date and time. So what are those behavior? As a human, we learn and we adopt. As a human, we make decision based on the information we have, or we inference in the information based on its context. Visual perception, so we can see how the place looks like. So there are artificial intelligence tools available that can distinguish between different things, right? And that is happening with the autonomous vehicle or the self-driving vehicle. The voice recognition, data analysis, and pattern analysis. So how project manager role will transform using artificial intelligence? It will be a system, a project management system that can perform day-to-day tasks or function of a project manager without requiring human input, right? So what does project manager do? We follow up on tasks, right? We work with a different team, we negotiate the deadlines, we manage the risk, we manage the issues, and a number of other things in between. So here is a diagram that I took from PwC research. The title of the research was AI will transform the project management. Are you ready? In this white paper, they talk about the integration and automation phase that we are right now. And I will discuss about this more. Then we will move into the chatbot assistant phase or the project assistant phase. This is also happening right now. Further, in 5 to 10 years, we will move into the machine learning based project management practice. And then 10 to 20 years from now, we will be looking at autonomous project management function. And I will detail about these in next slides. So one thing is, as a human, we have a fear of losing jobs, right? I did a similar presentation back in New Zealand, and that was one of the questions that if you really take on the job, right? Yes, for some people, the jobs will be displaced, but there will be new jobs for other people. So artificial intelligence will replace the tasks, not the jobs, right? So as a project manager, we do different tasks, right? And our job function. It will live side by side with human, making our job easier. So right now, if you're using Google Assistant, you can do a number of things using artificial intelligence. Something simple in Gmail, if you're typing an email, hello, how are you? Once you type how, it will automatically type in front of you, are you, right? So it knows the context of your email. If you are sending an email from Gmail for the last 2 years, you say, I have attached the email, and if you forget to attach the email, and if you press the send button, it will automatically stop you. It will say, you have not attached the document here, right? So that means it's reading the context. And that's making our job easier, because nobody wants to be embarrassed in front of our managers and directors and the chiefs when I'm sending an email to a chief and saying, hey, see attached report, and the report is not attached, right? So that makes our job easier. Artificial intelligence will create 58 million new jobs by year 2022, right? This is based on the World Economic Forum. What they are saying is that there will be a total of 133 million new jobs that will become available by year 2022 globally, out of which 75 million jobs will be displaced, meaning the current role of the people will be changed, will be transformed. Resulting, we will have 58 million new jobs worldwide. So in this slide, I will talk about some of the AI tools or some of the productivity tools that are available in market today. Some of them are productivity tool, normal business productivity tool. Some of them are the project management tool that are available as well. PMauto is a personalized project assistant, right? What it does is you can dictate a risk. So you can say, okay, PMauto, create a risk for me, and this is related to this project, and this is happening in the project, this is the probability, this is the impact. It will automatically fill up the document for you and get the right information populated into your Microsoft Project Online. WrapUp, it's a productivity tool. What it does is it takes the video voice notes and come up with the meeting minutes, right? So one of the challenge I find myself when going to a project meeting and you have to document the meeting minutes, right? So that would be a really useful tool. Firefly, it's synchronized with your different calendar application and does a transcription for you, something similar to the WrapUp. Strategies, it collaborates with your team, it automatically identifies the risk and sends the reminders about the risk and the past performance, and integrate with different management tools. So earlier, Axel McDougall was talking about the project risk, right? How his organization come up with like 140 risks that automatically populates to the new projects, right? Something similar can happen here as well, right? With the AI will say, yes, out of these 140 risks, only 10 of these are applicable to you, rest you don't need to worry about. Nightsphere, it's a gamified project management tool. So gamification is a big thing. Nobody wants like a carrot and stick or danda, right? Everybody wants to be polite and be nice. So there's a gamified tool as well that reminds you about the overdue tasks for your team members, upcoming events, and analyze the team productivity and improve and suggest the improvements. There are two tools, ClearResent and Forecast, that automate the resources. They learn from the project history. So again, SN Makbul was talking about the lesson learned sessions, right? So lesson learned, what you learned from your previous project, right? So this is very important for a project manager. And imagine if you are going to an organization as a new project manager and you don't know the history about the project that has been completed and the history about the team and the team dynamics, how it works with different people. Harmon, what it does is it sorts the communication through different channels. So right now, our communication is mainly email, right? In the last few years, we start using the WhatsApp as an informal communication tool as well, right? Text messages, phone calls, and all those things. And sometimes we get like bombarded with thousands of emails or thousands of WhatsApp messages, right? Some tool like this that can sort all your communication for you, prioritize it based on the context of the message that you're receiving or from who you're receiving this message. Lily, another AI company from France, it does the risk identification, it measures them, it helps prioritize your to-do list based on the risk and based on the task and your project schedule. Theodesk, it uses a natural language processing to sort your email. Again, the context of your email to find what is relevant here. A Dialogflow is a virtual assistant that also uses the natural language processing to integrate with different platforms. Most of these tools integrate with Microsoft Project Online or Jira for your project management tool. So if you're using Microsoft Online or Jira, you may be able to integrate some of these tools. So let's move on to what happened in the last 200 years. So in the last 200 years, we witnessed the first industrial revolution, right? So the first industrial revolution was about the mechanical engine, the steam engine, the water power, right? Then we moved into the second industrial revolution of the mass production. Assembly lines, electricity, electric grids. Then in the last 20 years, we moved into the third industrial revolution of the computers and automation, where we have seen the robots in the factory line, or we start using computers for our information and data processing a lot. Now we are moving into the fourth industrial revolution, which is cyber and physical systems that include artificial intelligence, neural networks, virtual reality, augmented reality, nanotechnology, quantum computing, 3D printing, and a number of other emerging technologies. The interesting thing here is all of these industrial revolutions happening now at the faster pace. So pretty soon we will know that, oh, we are now entering the fifth industrial revolution, right? So we won't be surprised that it could happen in the next 10 years. So before I jump into how the role of project manager will change using artificial intelligence, I would like to highlight a technology convergence. What I'm referring to technology convergence here is that because of these four technologies, which is algorithm, cloud, IoT, which is Internet of Things, and the data, we are at the stage where the things that were impossible 20 years from now are now possible. Just to give you an example, the first time in 1988, the Carnegie Mellon University tried to have an autonomous car. That was in 1988. Exactly 30 years back, right? However, at that time, that was a truck, not a car. Now we have more computing power. We have very well refined algorithms, right? We have IoT devices, that is basically the sensors, the drone cameras, the number of the devices that were not available, that were not cheaply available before for the mass adoption, and then the data. What I want to highlight about data is there are two types of data. One is structured data that we all are familiar with, right? What I mean by structured data is your database or information system, your knowledge information system, your CRM, your business applications, right? That is your structured data systems. There's another data which is almost 80% of the data on the internet, which is unstructured data. What is that unstructured data? Is your email. The context of the email. The email written by different team members that can tell you, if you read carefully, that there is a rift going on between two team members, right? That may or may not be visible to you in any structured data, right? Another example would be the videos. There are like thousands, millions of videos available today, right? That's a form of unstructured data. Other one is your Word documents or the information on your portal that may or may not be searchable, right? So it is very important that when we talk about data using artificial intelligence, we are not talking about the structured data only. We are talking about unstructured data, and this is where the real meat is for the artificial intelligence system. Now, one of the other things that I am noticing for the last few years is a paradigm shift. And what is that shift is we are moving from graphic user interface to a voice user interface, right? So on most of our mobile phones, right, we have the Google Assistant, Apple Siri, Windows Cortana, or Amazon Alexa, right? It's a voice-enabled system. So there's a very minimal user interface, right? So that thing is changing. And what I am seeing in the future with these artificial intelligence tools, there will be more adoption of the voice-enabled interfaces in the system. And it is possible because of the artificial intelligence, right? Because with the AI, natural language processing, a computer can understand what is being said in what tone and what is the context of that meaning. It can also help us the voice reminders as well. So now we're talking about the transformation of the project management function. One of the very important things is the organization and the process maturity. So what I mean by organization maturity is what works for your organization may not work for your organization, right? So in order to adopt artificial intelligence, the organization need to level themselves up, right? I remember SN McBool was saying in the morning that they are looking to, in 2022 or 25, that they would like to adopt artificial intelligence, right? So this is the right time to start considering artificial intelligence as something that will change our life in the next 5 years, right? The next is organization readiness. So again, that goes in line with the above, which is organization processes. What are your organization processes? Is your organization ready, right? Your organization may or may not be ready. They may say that we are ready, but in reality, when you go and you start implementing these tools, there will be a resistance, right? Because as a human, we are resistant to a change. So let me talk about the project management assistant, right? So if you remember the slide, the PwC slide, where we have the 4 different phases, right? So we are in the collaboration phase right now, where we have a number of tools that help us do different things. The next is they are referring to the chatbot assistant. What I'm saying is the project management assistant, where we have the assistant available in the tool that I've listed earlier that can help you find the information of the codes, right? How many times you have to pay for your vendors and you have to find the invoice codes, right? Or what are the frequently asked questions about your project? The task and status report, right? As a project manager or a PMO, sometimes you have a project coordinator or somebody within the PMO who's running around, have you complete this, have you complete this, right? With this AI-based tool or automatic tool, you can collect this information from your users once they complete the information, and then it can automatically generate the status report. He was also referring about the status report presented to the management 3 days from now, and the project manager comes and say, yes, the task is complete, we don't have that risk anymore. With this type of tool, you can automatically generate the status report on the fly that will give you the correct information based on the information available within your system. It can help capture the meeting minutes. It can do your class reminders. It can help you do the voice reminders as well, and the language translation. As most of us are working in IT, and most of us in Lahore are involved in some sort of software development, working with different clients overseas. Language translation is a very important function, especially if you're working with the people where the English is not the first language. So that's a very helpful tool. The PM bot can automatically create the status report, eliminating the needs of the status meetings or the stand-up meetings or any of those meetings that everybody sees as a waste of time. Talking about waste of time, there's a research done by Harvard Business Review that says 54% of the project manager time is wasted in the administrative tasks. What are those administrative tasks? All of those tasks are the administrative tasks, right? Create a status report, okay? Create a risk, follow up on this, follow up on that. Somebody gets sick, find another resource, right? All of those things waste our time. So as a project manager, these AI tools can help us in the near future. The next phase of this, according to PwC, is machine learning based project management. So this is where the real meat is, right? This is where to take us from where we are today to an autonomous project managers in 10 to 20 years from now. Once you have implemented an AI-based system that can predict and determine the deadlines when they are not going to meet, right? Ahead of the schedule. One of your resources on your team gets sick, right? Or somebody resigns from your company, you need to find another resource, right? To deliver your project on time. Based on the AI, you can look into the team performance from the previous project, where it will say that, this guy does not work well with this guy, so we better not put these two guys in the same team, right? We should pick up different team members. So this will help. AI tool will read all your emails, generate the context, and then suggest those alternatives. It can revise and update the project baseline based on the realistic information, right? So how many times it happens with us that we have the project plan that is not up to date, right? Or that we cannot even follow because the work breakdown structure initially identified does not have all the required information. So we have to constantly update the project plan. So the AI tool can help us automate those things as well. It can also help in managing the scope creep. Scope creep happens when uncontrolled changes are introduced to the project, right? That can take the project cost overrun. So what AI tool will do, will look into all those scenarios, right, and suggest that, there's a chance of, there's a risk of scope creep here that will result in the lost productivity, as well as the time, as well as here is the dollar amount that your company need to spend more in order to implement this particular change. Quality management is one of the biggest challenge in construction industry. I'm working for a hospital that was recently built, and we had a flooding a couple of weeks back, and there's a massive flooding in the number of areas of the hospital, right? That's not a good thing. Why it was happening? Because the contractor have not done the good quality assurance, right? Now with the artificial intelligence and the technology convergence, remember the diagram I showed you with the 4 quadrant, we have now the sensors available to us. We have the drone cameras available to us, right? That can do your site inspection and confirm whether this work is done to the level of the expectation of your client. On top of that, we have the weather IoT devices or the weather sensors available to us that can also help us in project planning. So for example, if you are in the construction industry, you are setting up the foundation of a building, and there's a rain forecast, right? So using that information, your AI tool can automatically tell you that there's an 80% chance of rain tomorrow, right? So you should not even start your foundation work tomorrow. You should postpone it for next 3 days, because for next 2 days, there could be a chance of rain. So this is all happening without project manager going outside and looking for the information. So So visual data analysis using IoT devices, drone, cameras, robots that helps in the construction and the quality management. One of other thing that will be really useful within the AI technology is if the AI technology is reading your news feed, it can automatically determine what are the news events happening that could impact your project. There could be some changes in local laws. There could be some changes in local government bodies, right? That could impact your project. Another area is resource and skill set. So what you want on your project is a resource that is capable of delivering the project objectives. So in order for you to deliver that, you need to make sure the resource has all the skill set, not just listed on his resume, but he actually knows that he can deliver those things. Resource leveling. Within project management function, we do the resource leveling, looking into account of the vacations and the calendars of different employees, and the team dynamics. Because last thing you want on your team is you have a dysfunctional team because one guy does not like the other guy, and they have some challenging situation in the previous project that can easily be avoided in future projects. So with a machine learning based project management, it can predict the outcomes of your project, and you can also have the project interdependencies that could be internal and external. So the example I gave you earlier about the news feed, right? So the changes in local election, right? Or the weather changes in your area, right? Or you may be working where your team is working on a remote site and the weather changes there, right? So how can you help? How can you help them before they ask for the help, right? So all those things would become possible using the artificial intelligence tool. And then, so again, AI tool is helping project manager to find all those issues and bring it to your attention so that you can make a decision. Question? Yeah.
Actually, basically, seems like we're not living in the real world.
You're right. So this is not what is happening right now, right? This is coming in next 5 to 10 years, right? So if you are aware of these things, you will go out and you will look for these tools, right? That will help you. As Hassan Maqbool was saying in the morning, that he's looking into the AI to see how his organization will transform in 2025. Not right now, but in near future. In 2025 is not too far. Under contract management, AI has made a considerable progress in the legal arena, right? We have seen artificial intelligence playing games with a human in the chess, right? We are seeing artificial intelligence used in the cancer diagnosis, right? We have also seen artificial intelligence in the legal contracts, right? Where the artificial intelligence system can read all the contracts and all the clause and come up with, okay, here are the 5 things that you need to go and negotiate with your counterpart.
How does it help in cancer diagnosis?
Sorry?
How can it help in cancer diagnosis?
So cancer diagnosis is a new area where artificial intelligence is being used right now, right? Is it 100% foolproof? No. Right? Does it work? Yes, it works sometimes, but it does not work sometimes. Right? So it is being implemented. So what happens is, Exactly. So just to give you an example, we humans have a gene, right? So in our gene, it is hard-coded that, for example, in South Asia, right, majority of us get blood pressure, diabetics at some point in time, right? We move to a different part of the world, right, you will see that they have a different types of clinical issues, right? So based on your genes, they can diagnose that, in 20 years from now, you may get this type of cancer, right? So again, this is
Basically, based on data analysis.
it is based on the data analysis, and again, it's structured and unstructured data, right?
It's based on knowledge
It's based on knowledge
base.
base, which is your unstructured data.
What is your job in hospital? To manage the hospital management?
I do a project management. I do IT project management, right? but I understand all those things, luckily or unluckily. Okay. So going back to the contract management in legal, based on the changes in local or international laws, it can suggest you alternate sourcing partners, right? So for example, you're buying something from one vendor, right? And it can go and see, you know what, another vendor is selling the same product at a lower price that can have you a cost saving in your project, right? So it can suggest alternate sourcing partners for you as well. Then we will move into autonomous project management. This is the scary part, right? This will not happen in, I hope it will not happen in 10, 15, 20 years. I hope it will happen once I retire, right? But probably we'll see it close to our retirement sometime. What will happen? Project management will be offered as a service. So most of us are familiar with the cloud, right? Infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, application as a service. In future, project management function will be offered as a service provider. What it would mean is that you would have a project manager that will be available for your WebEx call. He or she will talk in your accent, right, so that you can understand that person better. And he or she will negotiate and follow up on the task and do all those things and generate reports for you on the fly. Right?
This one would be very good.
Now, another thing that will happen is all of these emerging technologies, they will move from a supporting tool. So right now we are using IT as a supporting tool. We are using cloud as a supporting tool. We are using data as a supporting tool, right? They will move from a supporting tool like key stakeholder of the project. So when we are starting a project, we do our stakeholder analysis and we say, okay, who are our stakeholders, right? And based on the interest, we work with them differently, right? Something similar will happen that you will say, you know what, I'm getting a project management as a service from this cloud platform versus this cloud platform. It works this way, it does not work this way, so I need to think about it. There will be no or minimal human interaction. It will be more of a human management or the decision making. It will start with a small and the medium complexity project. That means there will still be need for the humans to manage the large, complex, real-time projects or the real risk projects. Just to give you an example about the cancer research, I was reading an article a couple of months back where it says that the IBM computer that is working on this AI for the cancer research is not delivering the result that are expected, right? It's causing more confusion for the doctors, right? So that does happen, right? Now, what will happen for the AI system to work very well, it needs to learn and adopt. The more data, structured or unstructured data it has, the more faster it will learn, the more faster it will adopt. So what will happen to us? What will happen to the role of project manager as a human? Our role will be as a leadership to make a decision whether to initiate a project or not to initiate the project, and to prioritize different projects based on the market demands. Our role is will still be the creativity. So the creative role will ever exist. Our role will be the ideation, to create the ideas, to come up with the ideas and work around those ideas in the long term. Our role will be in emotional intelligence, how to work with different people, right? AI can imitate human behavior to some extent, but we still know how to work with different people better than computers. Our role again will be in the strategic management, right? What are the projects that we need to do? What projects align with our organizational goals and objectives? So once again, I have this slide. So this is the first phase where we are right now, integration and automation, where we are currently using email as our communication tool. We have the project plan, our project schedule that we follow. We have the PMO templates and the PMO document that we use all the time, right? And we try to automate them as well, right? We have some processes that are automated to some extent. Then we are moving into the chatbot assistant. That is also happening right now, but some of us have adopted it. Some of us are in the early stages of adopting it. where the project management assistant can help project managers to prioritize tasks and help us do things better and improve our productivity. Then 5 to 10 years from now, we'll move into the machine learning based project management, where machine will start to learn how the projects are being done, and this will be the small to medium sized project that machine can, or the AI system can automatically do. Again, this will still require a human interaction and a human control to manage those projects, because the AI system is still learning. Then we'll get to 10 to 20 years from now, we'll get to the point where we will have an autonomous project management function, where the project management will be offered as a service. Final comments: artificial intelligence will assist project managers. It will not eliminate the project management function completely. However, it will transform the role of the project managers from executive to the business enabler. With that, I would like to thank you for your time and open the floor for questions and answers. Do you have a mic? Mic pass me, please.
माइक किधर है? माइक किधर है?
Okay. I'll pass on the mic so that everybody can hear the question.
माइक किधर है?
Okay, my question is regarding the risks involved in artificial intelligence. As I mentioned earlier, it's like living in an artificial world or not a real world. So what are the risks involved in this?
माइक पास करो.
Thank you very much. So the question is asked, what are the risks involved using the AI? So right now, if I try to have an artificial intelligence based project management function, it will completely fail. The risk is pretty high. What needs to happen over the period of time, the AI system needs to learn and to see how we work in our world, right? And the more data it has, whether it's structured data or unstructured data, it will learn, right? Eventually it will happen. Just to give you an example, as I said earlier, that the autonomous vehicle, the idea was initially in Carnegie Mellon University 30 years back, right? And they had this big truck, right? Because the computer at that time was big, right? Now our mobile phone has more power than that truck in 30 years back, right? So because the computing power is available now, we have more data available now, we have IoT devices available now, right? So we have the sensors available that can sense the distance, right? We have the cameras available that can see the things, and the AI system in the back can usually see what exactly is that object. So the risk of implementing those things right now are very high. However, over the period of time, the risk of using the AI-based project management tool will decrease. Other question?
My question is about autonomous vehicles. But that's a pretty interesting thing which is going on, especially with Tesla and other vehicles. But whenever there is, whenever they started using those vehicles and then they started having some accidents, what does that show? That it's not mature enough, the technology, or it needs more data, or how are they going to manage that? Because one of the accident was that, during dark, it was a bit dark, and somebody came in front of the vehicle, and the vehicle did not stop and hit that man. So how is that going to get resolved?
Sorted out. So again, depending on the technology you're using. So Google is launching this autonomous vehicle called Waymo, right, in a US city in coming weeks, right? I cannot recall the name of the city. I think it's Phoenix or another one. Anyway, so the idea is it depends on the software. It depends on how you train that system, right? As a human, we have that behavior, or we have that intelligence that we can see things, right? The more we teach that the tool, the more it will learn, right? Right now, In Perth, Australia, they are using autonomous buses to transport people from one location to another in a restricted area, kind of, right? Similar thing, autonomous vehicle in US have crossed over millions of miles, right? So again, the more data they have, the more they can improve, and it will go from there. Question?
Sir, we have to be very confident
Yes.
as our mobile doesn't make any mistake. You see, you know, dial a number, it will always ring at the location where it's required. So, first of all, I'm very grateful you have enlightened us. Sir, why we are saying 10 to 20 years, why not now? Autonomous vehicles have met 2 accidents. One was because it was taken over manually by the person who was sitting at the car.
Human
Second
mistake?
accident was due to somebody who hit the vehicle from the backside.
Yes.
Like. Now, sir, the doctor Saab has asked a question. How do you diagnose cancer? Again, we have to be very confident and realistic that this is going to happen. There will be all sides of the wall of the room reactive with the help of sensors. Let's say you go to the washroom, discharge certain liquid. After a while, something will give you an inkling. Mister, be careful. You are having excessive protein release. After 5 to 10 years, you are going to have cancer. Of course. Come on.
Well,
if you like, I can.
Cancer research is not my field, so I don't think I can talk about the cancer research or how it works in the AI, right?
That's the future of the human mind, sir.
Yeah.
The book written by Michael Carpenter.
Yeah.
You go and see it, verify many things. If people are interested, we are having a seminar on 20th in PIN on futurology. Please do come and join us. We will release so much of information and hypnotize people. We have to really believe it. This has happened now. As reality and get ourselves prepared. ऐसा ना हो कि सर देखते रह जाएं. Yes, don't make this mistake. You are about to enter in futurology. जैसे वो सर बता रहे थे ना वो कमांडर साहब. We have to be visionary.
Yes.
We have to be having vision and engineering both combined in the project management. So many things in my colony are going on automation. Batching plant and then the concrete plant and the supply and everything. There is only one person doing it, having the remote control, and all are sitting and watching. So we have to be confident that this is going to happen. For the Pakistani or for the Indians, for the Englandese or for the Brazilians. We have to be ready. It will happen tomorrow. What to talk of 20 years. It is happening, sir.
It is happening right now.
It is happening. IKEA kitchen. Can you give them about the augmented reality? Something about, if you know, sir, what is augmented reality?
Something that you can extend from the real world.
Something more than virtual.
Yeah.
Actually doing.
Mhm.
IKEA kitchen is doing cooking for you like everything is flying in the air and it is in the frying pan and it's serving. Virtually it's serving.
You are scaring us.
Sir, I'm learning it.
Yeah.
I'm
So
learning it.
the idea is that
It's a
we all,
passion.
we all are learning.
Thank you.
Right?
It's a passion.
Yeah.
It's a whole class.
Basically, is artificial intelligence going to make our life easier? Like what
Yes.
sharing
So
with
the-
us, it's really going to make
Yeah,
our life
it is scary. Again, remember, with my first few slides, I said yes, it could eliminate the role of project manager, right? So it's scary for the people that they're going to lose their jobs. Right? Now, what's going to happen is it will happen slowly over the period of time, right? So what happened in the last industrial revolution, where everything is automated now, right? We were scared that there will be robots everywhere in the factories and all those things. That never happened, right? So some of this, what we are talking about, may happen, and some of this may not happen, right? Some of it may happen faster than we think. Some of it may take another 20 years, right? Again, cancer diagnosis is a very challenging area because what you really don't want to do is to scare somebody that, hey, you know what? 20 years from now, you will die of cancer.
But you can't
How do you feel like that?
Decision out of it.
Yeah. So and again, let's say they do my blood work, get my genomic result, blah blah, do all this processing, and they say, okay, 20 years from now you get a cancer. Okay, so what do we do now? What does it mean, right? It means okay, great, I have 20 years to live, or it's like, you know what? Oh, I'm gonna die, right?
But let's take some precautions.
Let's take some precautions if there are some precautions available, right? So again, it also there's another topic within artificial intelligence that I have not touched here is the ethics. Right? That's a very important topic that we need to understand about what artificial intelligence can do and cannot do. And what you do, if you have information that something, or if you have a regression model, right? If you can predict what will happen in the future. Okay? So this is very, there are some ethical challenges, and being a Muslim in Pakistan, there are some religious challenges, there could be some religious challenges as well, right? If you start predicting the future. Right? So that's another topic, but this is again the idea of this presentation is to showcase to you what are the possibilities within the field of project management. Thank you. Any other questions?
I have a question. I think artificial intelligence has a lot to do with facilities and infrastructure of a country. So I think we are quite bold to assume that we're going to have anything like autonomous vehicles anywhere soon in Pakistan or augmented reality. So what do you think we can have in aspects of project management? What facilities regarding artificial intelligence we can have in Pakistan, being in Pakistan?
So what would happen is the chatbot assistant, right, or the project management assistant, right? That is available right now. Okay. In my first few slides, I showed you number of tools available, right? That are available to everybody. If you're using either Jira or Microsoft Project Online, you can use those tools. You can automatically introduce the language processing into your project management, right? It will start learning, right? And as those tools matures, right, you will have more functionality within the project management. So this is something that can happen anywhere in the world. Another question?
Sir, again I would request you, Pakistani would be the first nation who is going to adopt it. Mark my word. Let the goggles come in their hand and see themselves what they can do with that.
Definitely.
How recreation, amusement and everything else is done by that. Our wearable computers, our wearable technology, they'll really enjoy it. And tomorrow they are going to do it. You will see it.
Can
It's
I
not late.
speak?
It's not late.
There's a question from the back. Can we take last two questions?
One question from here. When we talk about project management or handling of projects, it is usually it is usually conceived that the perfect teams don't work. For example, if we are the last bench,
The perfect team does not exist.
Let me just complete my question. So if we are a bunch of guys, we can hang up together, and so we can solve those project management issues or the project more effectively than the perfect team. So when I talk about AIs, so they give you the perfect solution. So will an AI will give an optimized solution? So if a project is
Yes.
so if the project has a certain cost.
Right. So basically, the question is asked is, once we have the AI-based project management tool, right, to what extent it will make the decision for the project, right? So it all depends where we are in this the phase of the spectrum, right? So currently, it cannot make the decision. It is just learning the behavior, right? 5 to 10 years from now, machine learning based project management, once we are introduced to this, it will recommend some solutions, right? So something very small, like the example I gave earlier in the Gmail, if you're trying to send an email saying, I've attached a document and you forget to attach the document, right? It gives you a prompt. So it will be simple like that, right? So AI is not like it's a different thing. The interface could be similar to what we see in the graphic user, but it could be graphic user on top of the voice recognition as well, right? Now, once you have the autonomous project management function, right, and then it may or may not be able to take the decision, and you can set certain limits. So you can set a limit saying, okay, if the decision that is made by autonomous project manager only costs the organization 100,000 rupees, go ahead, right? If not, if it's more than that, then it needs some human to make that decision, right? So those parameters can be used in future in that type of scenario. Okay, next one.
Yes, building on your response just now, my question is about accountability actually.
Yes.
As machine learning and algorithms become more and more complex, it becomes difficult to trace the logic through which a computer is giving you an optimal solution. So in that case, the decision makers have something to fall back on. They can say that, okay, this is what the system has given us, and this is what we have implemented. So in that case, how do we assign accountability?
Yes, I think you asked a very good question of the accountability, right? In terms of accountability, the accountability lies with the management, right? Whether it's a human project manager or whether it's an autonomous project manager. If you remember in previous slide here, yes, and bullet number 2, I mentioned that emerging technologies will move from supporting tool into a key stakeholder, right? So you will consider your project management software as a key stakeholder, how it behaves, right? So you will try to learn the behavior of that one. Again, but the accountability is with the management, whether they would like to adopt the AI-based project management tool or not. That's up to the management. Okay, next one.
Yeah, my question. Yeah. My question is regarding. Can you move to the previous slide where you were mentioning the machine-based learning of the 4 steps? Yeah, this one. So it has finished. Yeah. So my basic question is that. The artificial intelligence, the basis of it is purely data, right? What we are providing to it, so it learns our behavior. So from moving from machine learned based project management to the autonomous project management, obviously machine learning based project management, it will learn our behavior regarding different projects, right? Different decision makings, like in case of power project, which decisions we're taking in different scenarios. In case of building a project, which decision was taking. So from moving from that, project management level to the next one, what steps are basically like required? Like the autonomous project management will take or will think it to itself that, okay, in this scenario, 70% of the time in the machine-based learning, this method was, this step was taken, so I should take it.
Huh?
I should also take this one, or.
So the autonomous project manager will come with predefined set of risk and issues and the decisions from different projects that could be within your organization or outside your organization, right? So, for example, you're working with a particular vendor, right? And your tool may have knowledge about that vendor, how that vendor works, right? Because this tool was used by a different organization to manage the same vendor to do the same project, right? Now you're doing the same project. So it will bring all that lesson learned, all that knowledge with itself. So it is not just a tool that will sit, it will be the tool plus the data, which is structured and unstructured data, right? That you can build upon, right? Now, what will happen in what I'm saying, the machine learning based project management is 5 to 10 years and autonomous is 10 to 20 years, is because that transition needs to happen. That learning curve needs to be built, right? We go to the school, we go to the college, we go to the university, then we come to the professional life, right? So it's the same thing. It's needs a learning curve.
So, but eventually, it is the project manager or the company who will decide that.
Exactly. It's you decide whether you want.
It has to take.
Yes, it's your decision whether you want to use Gmail or Yahoo Mail, right? It is your decision whether you want to use Google or Bing as your search engine. As simple as that.
It's not completely autonomous.
Again, when we talk about autonomous vehicle, right? somebody needs to tell that, okay, I want to go from here to there, right? So somebody will tell, here's a project, here are the input, processes, and give me the output. Right? So that decision will always be with us because it's providing us the service.
Right.
So at the end of the day, eventually, whatever autonomous project management or machine learning based project management, it is based and the information or data will be feeded into the system. I mean, nothing supernatural is coming.
Nothing supernatural is coming.
It's all based on data.
It just based on the data. It's based on the information that reside in structured and unstructured data. It all happening because of the technology convergence that I've showed in, I think, some slide number 8 or 9, right? Where I was showing that how algorithms, the cloud computing, IoT, and the data help us do this, right? The idea of artificial intelligence was 1956 by John McCarthy, right? When he came up with this term artificial intelligence, right? So the ideas are old, right? But now the implementation is only possible because of all the technology that become easily available to us, and it's cheap.
Okay, very good. I think that's the time available for this presentation. And before we go, we'll give you a shield. And wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Okay, now Farooq. Farooq says there are 4 people who have done their PMP and they should get a shield. Okay.
Sayyid Faizan Ali Shah, PM.